Right, hello, welcome to RetireJapan TV. It's just us chickens here tonight, me and Daniel. We're going to entertain you with our witty banter. But normally we'd be talking with a guest, we'd be talking about personal finance and investing and retirement and life in Japan and all that good stuff. So welcome if you're joining us live, and hi if you're watching the replay. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so we haven't booked a guest for today, but hopefully we'll have one next time. And we have actually quite a few things to talk about. So I had my trip to Shikoku, which was wonderful. Really recommend visiting Shikoku if you get the chance. And yeah, while there, I had a few kind of realizations that we're going to jump into a little bit today. But how are you doing, Daniel?
Very good, thank you. I just put a link to your blog post. Oh, it's not sending for some reason. Oh, there it has. Yeah. Yeah, you just wrote briefly about your trip to Shikoku, and you really seem to like it there.
Yeah. Well, I went years ago, and I thought it was really boring.
Oh.
And then I went I went for work. So I went for like 2 days to, I think, Takamatsu, but I don't even remember. Just do a presentation and talk about English teaching. And I remember walking around in front of the station and everything being a bit dead at like 8:30 on a Saturday night, and thinking, this isn't really the place for me. But this time, going around with my wife and just wanting to relax and chill, it was wonderful. It was so peaceful and just stunningly beautiful. Like the entire island is like beautiful ocean and like waves of really picturesque hills, disappearing into the horizon through these kind of mists. So you get this kind of gradation of like different colored hills fading away, and it's amazing.
Sounds so picturesque.
And just everywhere is stunning.
Yeah.
And very few people, very few tourists, and it was cheap, and people were really kind of chilled and friendly, and yeah, just lovely.
Yep, that sounds like the Shikoku I remember. We went just 2 or 3 years ago, and I can't remember the name, but there's a kind of famous valley bit down towards the center on the way to Kochi from top to bottom.
Aya, is it? The Aya Valley?
Oh, it could have been that, actually. Yes, it sounds familiar. They've got a few little, the Tsuribashi, what's that called? Rope bridges, I think they're called.
Oh, yeah.
And then you had sort of misty view down through the valley and the wooded hills on either side. Yeah, really beautiful.
Just stunning. Like we went on the I can't remember the name. This is a famous river. Basically, we went kayaking on the river.
Oh, cool.
And they have these bridges across the river, which is like these concrete bridges that are basically 1 car width wide with no guardrails or anything. They're called Shinkabashi. Apparently, they're designed like that to have as little obstruction to the water as possible. So when it floods, the river doesn't wash them away because there's nothing to really catch. It kind of flows around it or something. I don't know. I think it's just designed to like torment tourists because like it was terrifying. I had to drive across one.
Wow.
And I was in a Toyota Corolla that we rented, and the bridge was less wide than the car was. With nothing to stop you falling off the bridge. Right?
This sounds like one of the Top Gear challenges where they go around the world.
It was. But the funny thing is, coming back was fine. I was quite blasé about coming back.
Oh,
so going there was absolutely terrifying, and then coming back was like, okay, I can do this.
I've got it now.
And the locals just drive across full speed. Like the kayak guy drove us over it in a Land Rover. So much bigger than a Toyota Corolla, right?
Yeah.
At like 40 kilometers an hour. We were all like,
Yeah, I couldn't do that. Oh, that sounds like such a good trip, though.
It was great. It was really, really good.
Yeah, Shikoku was brilliant.
Totally recommend it because it's cheap and there's no people there, and it's beautiful, and there's loads of activities, and the food's pretty good. So if you're going on a little trip in Japan, you could do a lot worse than going to Shikoku, I think.
Yes. People listening, if you are interested in Shikoku, there are several ways to get there. So you flew down, not to Shikoku.
No, because there's no flights from Sendai to Shikoku anymore. So there used to be, but after the pandemic, all the flight routes got cut, and they haven't put them back. Obviously, they weren't particularly profitable. So,
Right. Yeah.
but there's a flight to Kobe. So we flew into Kobe, rented a car, and drove across Awaji onto Shikoku itself, and that was pretty easy. And yeah, super easy to do. Bit expensive. The tolls are a bit expensive on those bridges. But...
Oh yes. When we went down, we took the overnight train. There's an overnight train called the Sunrise Express, I think, or Sunset Express, one of the two.
Sounds right.
And it goes, I think it starts at Tokyo. We got on at Yokohama, and through the night it goes down to Wakamatsu, is it called? I forgot the name. Yeah. The main city on the north of Shikoku. And then you have to get off if you want to go on further. But I love that. My wife didn't really enjoy the rocking as you're trying to sleep at night. Yeah. But I loved it. You get there very early, so you got to kind of have something planned or just kill time until like the rent-a-car place is open.
Oh, right. But, that early.
Yeah. Many years ago, though, I went, I think that was from Kyushu. We went by ferry. There's a ferry going over there, I'm pretty sure. And on the way back, actually, we then flew from Kochi Airport. So, yeah, if you're interested in Shikoku, several ways to get there, depending on your time, budget, and adventurous spirit.
Yeah. The ferries are really good, actually. We took a couple of ferries while we were there, and they go every hour or something. The routes are really good. Yeah. And then if you're on the inland sea, there's no waves at all. So it's
of course.
It's the perfect ferry experience for people who get seasick like me.
Do you? Oh,
I do. Like I used to catch the ferry from England to not to Calais, which would be a short, easy trip, but like the 6-hour one to Le Havre, I think, or the 24-hour one to Bilbao. Hell.
Oh,
like
cool.
just
Really?
throwing
I
up
love
for 22 hours.
Oh, no. Oh, what a shame. Comment on Twitter, found in Japan. Hello, found in Japan. They took the ferry from Osaka to Ehime, also in Shikoku, and loved it. Yeah, very good. And as you can imagine, very Japanese and clean and organized and on time.
Yeah. We actually had udon on the ferry. They actually made hot udon. Like, it was great.
Oh, nice.
There is a ferry from Sendai to Shikoku, but I will never be taking that because it goes through the Pacific. So no.
And that's more than a couple of hours, isn't it?
It's like 20 odd, yeah. So no.
Oh, really? Wow.
No, thank you. I was surprised it was that few actually, because it has to go all the way around. From here all the way around Tokyo, and it's still at less than 20 hours. So.
Right. Wow. Oh yeah, not too bad. I'd do it.
Pretty quick.
So this kind of brings us on to our first topic, I think. You loved Shikoku so much. In your blog post, you kind of indicated that you are about to buy a chain of Besso homes in Shikoku. Is that correct?
I was tempted. Basically, one of the places we stayed was on Shodoshima, which is Small Bean Island, I think it is, which is beautiful. It's one of the biggest islands in the inland sea. Population about 20,000, I think. It's the same size as Miyakojima, but like I think 20% of the population or 30% of the population, so tiny population. And we stayed in this little Airbnb type thing. It's kind of run by a company, and it was all like no people involved. So you check in and get the key out of the box, with the pin and stuff. But the homes that we stayed in one of them. They had 2 operational, and then there was like 5 more that were basically falling to pieces. They weren't being maintained, and the whole thing seemed like a kind of Besso area. So there's a private road going up to the cliff, and in front of you you've got the ocean, and behind you you've got the forest. And it was the most wonderful place I've ever been recently. Like, just beautiful, amazing views, quiet, isolated, and the supermarket's 5 minutes drive down the road. So it's just perfect.
Wow.
So I was like, wow. Yeah. If I had 10 times as much money as I have now, I would definitely try and buy this, just knock everything down and build a really nice house there.
Right.
But I reconsidered because that would I could probably do it, but it would take all our money, and that's probably not not the best idea right now.
Yeah.
So I gave up on redeveloping it and putting in a helipad and stuff. So.
Yeah. I know the feeling. Yeah. I have a similar kind of thing when we go away. There's a few places that we like. My wife loves Karuizawa area. I like a little bit closer to where we are.
I've been there. It was very fancy.
Very fancy, yes.
Too fancy. I didn't go there and think, oh, I could buy this. Like, there's no chance of me being able to buy that. Like,
no, some
broken down pistol maybe, but
some of the places just outside Karuizawa that don't have the Karuizawa name, they're still just as nice and a little bit more sort of remote. They're nice, and then I like a bit closer to that sort of Yamanashi Prefecture, that kind of area.
Okay.
But then, probably like you sort of start thinking about, is it really practical? And well, if I had money where I didn't have to worry, like Bill Gates actually has got a very big house in Karuizawa. If I had,
has he?
maybe verging towards that kind of amount.
I wonder how many days he spends there every year.
Right, probably not much because he doesn't need to worry about it. But if it's you and I sort of regular people, you kind of feel a commitment to then go back there. You spent so much money on it. If you then go to a different area, stay in a hotel somewhere completely else, like, what did I spend that money for? And then you got the maintenance overhead, and yeah, it's a lovely dream, but
it's the opportunity cost for me. It's like, yeah, I mean, we could maybe do it, but it would take up a lot of our money, which then takes away our options in the future.
Yeah.
That money could have grown and given us. Plus, it's what you can do in the meantime, isn't it? Even if you buy like some cheap Akia, how many hotel nights is that?
Exactly.
Dozens or hundreds, right? So, and those are in all different places. So
and it's not just the purchase cost, but the maintenance and the property tax, and then if something bad happens, well, you have insurance as well, and then when you discover you've got termites, I'm probably being too negative here, but
no, I mean absolutely, yeah. Or you turn up and the roof's fallen in or something, or it's full of spiders.
Yeah.
One thing actually I didn't enjoy about Shikoku was all the kind of road areas, on the highway, the kind of rest areas. They've got black widow spider warning signs. Like, black widow spiders are common here, so be careful. I was like, oh,
wait. There are black widow spiders in Japan.
Apparently. Yeah, they come in something, and now they obviously the climate's agreeable to them, so they're spreading.
Wow. Back in my head, I just assumed, I never really thought about it. I just assumed that, it was like Central America was whatever. Wow.
So if you see small, like, 1 or 2 centimeter spiders with red markings, like, don't touch them.
Oh, because we have spiders in our house. They're about that big, 1 centimeter big, and they're jumping spiders, and we really like them because they get the little insects, or mosquitoes or whatever. I assume they do anyway. They don't hurt us, that's for sure. And so we share the house with them and say hello when they come out.
There are no spiders in my house.
Really? I hadn't thought there were poisonous spiders in Japan. Oh no!
But they don't jump. So black widows are a web. They make webs in dark places. So if it's jumping around, it's not a black widow.
Okay. Yeah.
Huntsman.
Wow.
There's huntsman in Japan too.
What's that?
Huntsman is this monster that mainly in Australia. It's like the size of a plate. Very fast, completely harmless. They eat cockroaches and things. So logically, it's a good thing to have around, but like psychologically, I don't want them anywhere near me.
I may have seen those when we lived down in Kyushu. Really in the middle of nowhere, amongst the rice fields and stuff, and we would get spiders that would, when they were resting on their sort of web, waiting for something to land on the web, they had 8 legs, but they would sort of put them into pairs.
Okay.
So it looked like they've got 4, almost like a cross. I guess it was sort of hide themselves or camouflage themselves. I don't know if that's the huntsman or what that's.
No, huntsmen run around. They don't make webs.
Oh, okay.
They're these big, long-legged grey things.
Oh, I don't remember seeing any of those.
But huge, like absolutely enormous.
Sorry for any arachnophobes listening or watching.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about spiders for the rest of the show.
Yeah. People could be forgiven for thinking you're trying to put them off Japan because there are poisonous spiders in Japan.
I have been on a bit of a roll,
here if
haven't
you
I?
want to be happy.
Like, don't come to Japan. Don't.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And someone commented just now actually on the YouTube. They said, what a ridiculous thing to say that, you know, buying a house is going to make you unhappy. I'm like, that's not what I said.
Ah, right. I mean, just to
As
clear
we
this
get
up.
a larger audience on YouTube, the quality of the comments is going down slightly.
But just to clear it up, you are happy in Japan, I take it.
I love it here. I think Japan's great. But you know, I think people should make a really informed decision when they choose to move here, when they choose to work here, and I get the feeling some people might not, so that's why I wanted to. And also, most videos about Japan are like, "Hey, it's great, it's wonderful, everything's covered in fairy dust, and everyone's happy." And that's not actually the case, is it? So,
all the time.
Just trying to balance the scales a little bit.
Yeah.
And actually, it was actually that most recent video was it's actually a question I got. So,
I see.
From someone in a different country who was very unhappy and you know, with anxiety and actual problems, saying, you know, I'm would it be good for me to move to Japan? And I was like, probably not right now.
Right.
You know, so that's where that came from. It wasn't me just being grumpy.
Yeah.
Stay off my lawn. I want to be the only gaijin in the village. You know.
It reminds me, I had a related conversation with a colleague who is a remote worker, and he's been traveling the world for 2 years with his wife, going to all these different countries, working out which country they eventually want to live in.
Ooh.
And they've done...
What's the top 3 so far then?
We stopped at Japan, really. He was going on about Japan so much. I don't think we got to the rest of the conversation. He loves it here. They really enjoyed other parts of Asia, Taipei, Vietnam, because of the food, cost of living, and the usual things. Anyway, he really likes it in Japan. And so I was saying that, you know, I love it here too, but it's not for everyone. I have people that I know who have found it frustrating with the way that there are all these unwritten rules and social sort of norms that you have to follow. And if you don't, you're not going to get arrested, but it's going to make life harder for you in the long term. And he was saying that sounds ideal for him. It's like, yeah, that's the kind of place I want to be. But his wife is the opposite. For example, when they're in the station, you got the steps up and down, and you know, you should go up on this side and you come down on that side. And he's quite happy, you know, following the rules, and everybody's there, and the other side is empty because, you know, it's not the rush hour time, whatever. And his wife would say, "Come on, let's go on this side. It doesn't matter. Let's just say, you know, there's space there, so it's logical that we should, you know, use up that space." And he's, "No, because this is the arrow. It's saying this. We should stick with this way." And I think if you're the let's follow the arrow kind of person, then yeah, Japan is going to be a bit easy for you to live in than the let's just go any way we like kind of person.
That's a really good way of looking at it, like a 20-second test, isn't it?
Right. Yes. You
know, are you going to follow the rule, or are you going to ignore the pointless rule and do the logical thing?
Right. And obviously there are people who happily live here who will be the sort of rule breakers. You know, there are those kind of people. But yeah, that's if you want a 20-second quick test, then that's not bad.
Yeah, I like it. Although we should kind of caveat this in that the social norms and rules and so on are kind of voluntary if you're not Japanese.
Yeah.
In the, you know, if you work for a company, then yes, there's a lot of restrictions and rules and so on. But if you're self-employed, or you work for yourself, or you're retired, doesn't apply.
Yeah.
And the same with the community, as it were. You can choose how much you engage with the community, and therefore, so in some ways you can kind of ignore the rules by not joining in, as it were.
If you want to, you kind of get a bit of a free pass. I don't like saying this, but you get a bit of a free pass if you're not Japanese. But it's still a good idea to try and join in as much as you can, because you get much, much more out of life here, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a scale, isn't there? There's Derek Westman on one side of the scale, you know, like Chonai Kaicho and all this stuff, but and then there's completely ignoring every kind of unstated rule of society completely. And most people are somewhere in the middle, I think.
Oh, right. Yes.
Like I will never kind of voluntarily get involved with these kind of Japanese groups because it would drive me nuts.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting. We had a thing when our son was in elementary school. They sent a message out saying, "Oh, can any dads? Because it's obviously got to be dads, got to be male, to do the barbecue." In their eyes, are any dads available to help with the barbecue at this event? And so I went along and helped out. And then there was a drinks afterwards to say thank you. And then they passed a clipboard round saying, "Oh, thanks very much. Please put your email address here." So as we're drinking, I naturally put my name down and pass it on. But the rest of his education, I was on that list, and every event is like, right, we've got an event coming up. Be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, ready for blah blah blah. Oh, come on! I mean, it felt more like you are subscribed rather than it's a sort of
schoolboy era.
Yeah. But having said that, on the flip side, there's an annual bazaar here where they ask every year for volunteers to make the yakisoba, actually. And so I help out with that, and they're very good. Each year they come around and they ask, do you mind doing it again? It's okay if you're busy, only make it one day, that's no problem. So I guess it depends on the community where you are, but I'm really happy to get involved with that because you give them more sort of freedom.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the local chamber of commerce, the Shokokai, through my wife's school when we had a branch in a different town.
Right.
And I was in the young persons group, and the young persons group is up to about 45.
I like that.
Right? Anyone over 45 is not in the young persons group anymore. But yeah, we did the matsuri every year, and had the yakisoba stand and stuff, and that was cool. That was actually quite fun. It was a whole day. You go in the morning, set up, cook all day, drink all day. we sold beer. We drank most of it ourselves, but we sold beer as well. But that was a lot of fun because the group was fun and the activities were good. So, I mean, it can be good, but it can also be hellish. So you got to pick your groups, I think. Like if you read Derek's blog, his recent posts are about trying to get out of some of those,
right?
Because they weren't fun, and he knew that going in, but he was like, right, I've done my 2 years, and now I'm kind of getting out of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I made the mistake with that school thing. So learn from my mistake and know what you're signing up for when you volunteer for these things.
Or just put down the wrong email address, and then it'll just bounce.
I'd had too much to drink to think about that. Anyway, I don't know. This is not on our topic list for today, but just want to quickly say thanks to Rob on the Facebook. He's saying they go to Shimoda, on the Izu Peninsula. Very nice. I like that area. And there's a beach down there. They've got lovely beaches down there. And it's very lovely. And they plan to retire there. Very nice. It is practical, isn't it? You can do it a day from Tokyo. Well, a day trip. It's a bit tricky, but you can certainly travel down there easily in a day. Got a lovely train as well, which I haven't had a ride on yet. But it's what is it now? Some Royal Express or some super fancy train.
Oh, is it a sim type train then?
Definitely, yeah. She'd love it if she hasn't been in it already. And it goes along the sea. And I think you can do like the full course meal and stay at a hotel and everything. Or there's a cheaper version where it's just the trip and maybe a cup of tea or something, but you still get the nice views.
Bottle of green tea,
something like that. I'd really like to do that one day.
Awesome.
Right. What else did we have? Have we solved? Yeah, we've solved best store then, second homes.
I think so. I think for most people it really doesn't make sense. You'd be better off spending the money on different trips, unless I guess if you had family in the area or something, you might want to have a little place to stay. Like if your parents-in-law happen to live somewhere and you wanted something near them but not with them.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I'm sure people are sort of shouting at us saying, well, you can just put it out on Airbnb. Yes, you can. If you're not familiar with the Japanese rules, I think unless you make it into a proper hotel kind of business, as an individual, you're restricted to up to 180 days a year that you can
half the year, isn't it?
Let it out, I think. Yeah. And I attended, we'll talk about this a bit later in the news section actually, but the Japan Real Estate Summit, I attended that, and I can't remember her name, but lady there did a very, very good talk about being an Airbnb host, and said it's a very good thing to do in Japan if you love being an Airbnb host, and if you love like meeting people and being part of the community and like contributing, rather than just making a quick buck.
Yeah, she was great. I really enjoyed that presentation. But it sounded exhausting. I mean, it sounded like something I really didn't want to do. But
yeah, do it if you love it, not otherwise.
Obviously, she's doing very well with it. I think she had a few dozen properties, right? So
yes, and she's got supplementary income as well from things tied to the Airbnb. So she'll recommend restaurants and get a bit of money from that, I think. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. But if you are not prepared to go into that level of detail, then yeah.
Yeah, and if you're not there, how are you Airbnb-ing it? You know what I mean? Like, unless you've got local staff or something. So yeah.
We looked at when we looked into it for Hakone as well, the cleaning costs. If you're not going to clean it yourself, there are obviously cleaning companies that will do it for you. But they were surprisingly expensive, especially if you get people that's staying for one night or maybe 2 nights. Each night is then an extra 9,000 yen or however many thousand yen it is. And so you're going to have to charge really high prices to try and get your money back, especially for very short stays.
Ooh, talking of cleaners.
Oh, yes.
Can we sidetrack? Not that we haven't sidetracked.
Yeah, let's go. I think we've done best so now. So yeah, go for it.
So we used to have a cleaner here in Sendai because obviously, I work, my wife works much harder than I do. And we used to have a cleaner that we found through the local Silver Center. I don't know if you know the Silver Center.
Oh, right. The 60s and above kind of.
Yeah. So it's like a retired people's community center thing, but they have job boards and stuff. So as well as activities and things. So we hired someone from there, and she was fantastic. She used to go diving everywhere, like by herself. She'd like go off and go diving in all these places that I can only dream of going to. So really cool lady. But she used to come in once a week, just for like 3 hours, and just clean the place really thoroughly for us. And it was fairly reasonable because it was it's a private contract with her.
Yeah,
it wasn't going through anyone.
Oh, okay, great.
Because we had looked at companies, but it's expensive to get a proper cleaning company in. And you'd have less trust, I think, because you wouldn't know who they were sending anyway, right? If it's a company, that's true. It's not like so. But unfortunately, she retired a few years back, and so we've been making do cleaning our own house. But we're thinking about trying again, try and find a new person, because it makes a huge difference just to have it properly cleaned once a week by not you. It's so nice. It makes such a big difference. So I would recommend it because it is it's very possible, and it's not as expensive as you might think, and I think it's really worth it, especially if both of you are working. It's a really nice kind of treat. It's spending money for happiness. This is quite a high return, I think.
Yeah. A quick question on YouTube actually. In France, having a house cleaner is tax deductible. Is that correct? Is that the same here?
Well, actually, it wouldn't be, but my wife has her own business, so we could employ this lady through the business, and therefore it became a expense for that business.
Right, cleaning the school. Yeah.
So if you're self-employed, it might be. Depends what your accountant says.
Yeah, if you're in a home office or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So it could be it's office cleaning stuff, isn't it? So, cleaning my office. Yes.
That's almost you've almost encroached onto my money saving tip territory there, though. Going through the silver circle, because my wife's done the same thing for gardening. Wanted to get rid of some bushes that she was struggling with herself, and I'm busy working. So the local people very happy to do it. Came round in the K truck, and they charge. They don't do it for free, but they don't charge an outrageous amount. It's
everybody's happy. It's very, very reasonable. I mean, it's you almost feel bad. You're like, can we give you some more, please?
You can make some goods for them, baked goods and extra drinks and stuff. Yeah, and then as you said, regarding the cleaning, you're speaking to the person that's going to do it rather than going through some agency, and so they'll come along and say, oh yeah, that's going to be a bit tricky to pull that one out, but I'm sure I can do it. And then they'll come back in a week's time with the tools. And
yeah, all these kinds of tasks that are slightly active. These are things that people are actually quite happy to do because it keeps them moving and it gets them some pocket money and all that kind of thing. So
yes,
I think it's a win-win.
Yes, and in our case, they will tell you if they can or can't do it. I think most companies would just take anything on, but these people will say, that's beyond my abilities.
We're not digging that out of the ground.
Right, yeah. So it's not like you're forcing them to do anything. Good.
Yeah, so go to the Silver Center if you need any kind of tasks done. I guess even minor building work and maintenance and stuff might be possible probably as well. But definitely gardening and cleaning.
Yeah. Good tip. What else are we going to talk about? Going back to work. You're back at work. I'm back at work. Were we going to cover some?
Yeah. So I've come to peace. I'm at peace with going back to work now. I've talked it through. Had a good chat with my wife and made a plan. And so I am not resentful anymore about having to go back to work because I was a bit to begin with, and that wasn't very healthy. So.
For people who might be new listening, I'm just going to step back and say that you were working at a university, that finished, you had a bit of time out, and then went back to work at your wife's school, just teaching, and I think it was just helping out a bit, and now that's turned into a long-term thing.
It's full-time. Hopefully not long-term. We're
right. Yeah.
We're looking to find new caretakers for the school at some point. So,
as in owners.
Yeah.
So, if you're looking for a school in Sendai, please write to. Yes. I'm looking for a school in Sendai at ben.com.
If you are actually already running a school in Japan and would like to buy another one, yes, please do. But that's the kind of scale we're looking at.
Right. So to add to a franchise, to add to a chain or something, maybe.
Yeah. For the right person, I think it might make sense.
Yeah. Yep. Similarly, I've also gone back to work 6 or so months ago, and it's actually a company I worked at previously.
So it really is going back to work.
Which is good because the onboarding was super easy. I knew a lot of the people still there. I knew what to expect, and so there wasn't that weeks or months of sort of uncertainty when you start a new job. It was like, am I doing what they want me to do? Is this the right thing to do? Should I be doing something else? It was pretty easy to get straight back into work, and I'm very happy to be there. It's almost like you sort of take a break to sort of reassess what is important to you, and then when you come back, you have slightly different priorities. Like I've found that I'm not really as go-getter as I was before. I'm more sort of balanced about how I approach the work, which makes me happier and less stressed.
Nice. It's quite encouraging as well that you could go back, because we often have this image that if you stop working, that's it. You've kind of burnt your bridge and you can't go back. But the fact that you could go back to the same company basically is really encouraging, and I think shows that we might have a bit more flexibility than we think.
Yes. I've always been very careful not to burn any bridges, and I didn't go straight and work for a competitor either. It was pretty straightforward. I have found though, so the one thing I struggled with last time was getting the balance, the work-life balance. I'm sure everyone struggles with it, but the more effort I put into work and sort of go up that ladder, the more I could see the family life was not getting enough of my time, and I was struggling to do the things I was supposed to do as a husband and father. And then now I'm finding the same thing again, and it's just I've come to accept it as one of those inevitable things of being a working person in the modern world. And now, but I feel okay with it because once I've sort of accepted that, rather than trying to achieve the impossible and be perfect at everything, that it's kind of like find my peace. And I realized that if I need to devote some time on this, then that's going to have to suffer a little bit, but that's the way it is. Everyone's in the same boat. Yeah,
I read somewhere that as you get older, your aspirations are kind of dampen down to reality and stuff. And I'm
sad
starting to run
that,
into that
isn't it?
myself, you know?
Yeah.
Like you no longer. Oh, I guess you have more experience. So you're like, okay, so I know what is involved with doing this or doing that, and I know that I only have limited time, and that I probably need to sleep and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
it reduces stress, and it gives you a bit more freedom as well. So when something does come up, maybe you have a bit more freedom to fit that into your life.
yeah, I mean the importance of having slack in your life, whether it's financial slack where you have a bit more money than you need, and so if something happens, then you can deal with it, or time slack where if something comes up, you have a couple of hours to deal with it, or I often found I was completely booked. So people would say, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" And I'd be like, "I can't." You have to schedule me like 6 weeks in advance. But
Yeah,
I think it's quite healthy to have those. Yeah. So you're only running at like 60-70% capacity.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of where this worked out the other day. It was Tuesday or Wednesday night, I think, last week, and my son was due to go to the baseball. No, he wasn't. No, my son's friend was going to the baseball with his dad, and had mentioned it to my son, and so they went along. Then the following night, his friend was going to go again. And I thought, well, that sounds like good fun. Why don't we go? And so it was Wednesday morning. Like, should we go to the baseball tonight? Yeah, let's go. And so online, buy tickets. And, at the end of the day, we all hopped on the train and went and watched the baseball. And previously, I would have never been able to do that. But yeah, having that freedom to just go and have fun was really, really nice.
So I think it's a bit tough to manage, isn't it? Like there's a time for everything. Like there's a time to like really work on your work. For most people, that's when they're kind of younger, I guess. You want to really build your career capital early on.
Yeah.
And then later on, you can be more balanced in things.
Yeah.
I wish I'd spent more time on my health when I was younger. So I've got to like now, and I'm like, okay, now I really need to fix all these things with my body that wouldn't have been things if I'd actually taken care of it earlier. So,
yeah, same here. But I am following advice I think you've given me in the past about getting a standing desk. I now have a standing desk, and I'm not using it right now, but I've got a balance board thing as well. It's like a circular wooden board with half a ball sort of glued or screwed underneath it. So you stand and you have the balance on it. There's no like you can't.
I love it. I've got one of those. I got it from Amazon for like 1,000 yen. Like
it's so good. It's just brilliant. And after a while using it, my muscles will hurt the following day. I get muscle ache because I'm not super fit. Although that's getting better, which proves that it is working. And yeah, I've had bad back problems the last few years, and they've been really good for the last few weeks actually. Back's been feeling great, and I think
fingers crossed.
This is a lot of it is due to the standing desk and the balance board.
No, the standing desk,
when you work.
Game changer. I got mine like maybe a couple of years ago when I basically finished working at the university. But a mechanized standing desk that you can raise and lower mechanic like with a button is magic. Like you can sit down, you can stand up, you can. Yeah, I find I spend more time standing actually.
And overall, or
maybe
sitting,
70-30 standing. Or like I'll sit down for like real concentration stuff, but everything else like calls. If or like now I'm standing, right? This is my standing desk. Any kind of Zoom call or browsing the web or answering emails, I'll be standing, and then just when I'm writing, I'll sit down sometimes. But really good. You do need to have something on your heels, though. I find like if you're standing on the floor with your feet, my heels start hurting, so I'll need slippers or a mat or something under my feet.
Interesting. I find that the balls of my feet hurt.
Oh, okay. You probably have better posture than me then.
Don't know, but so I have to take a break or wear slippers or something. In the comments, I'm going to put a link to the standing desk that I got. It's maybe similar to the one you got. I should have read the fine print of the details before I bought it, because it was not just big. Well, I knew how big it was going to be, so I just worried about the sort of dimensions of it. 95 centimeters. Oh, that's nice and wide. Yeah, that's going to be great. That is fit a monitor on there as well. I didn't think about the weight. It's 14 kilograms, and so I got it because I've got a bad back, and it arrives, and I've got to carry this 14-kilogram box upstairs
from Amazon. Right.
Oh, this is from Samwa Direct. Oh, you got the balance ball there as well. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that was not great thinking of me. So I had to wait until my back was feeling a bit better before I could actually get it set up. God. But it's heavy because it's got the sort of the hydraulic thing where you pull in a lever, and that means it raises and lowers. You know,
okay, so it's not electric.
No, it's hydraulic, which is really
nice.
really nice. So to lower it, you flick the lever, and then you have to push down quite hard to lower it.
Oh, funky.
It's
yeah, mine's just electric, so it just goes up and down.
Oh, right. Oh, very smooth. Very nice.
Yeah. Very fancy, yes.
So there you go, everybody. We both recommend that.
Totally, yeah. It's a game changer. If you got your own space, like, yeah, it's a no-brainer, I think, because you can always use it to sit down, but you also have the option.
Yeah. And I think it fits in with the Retire Japan theme because you're fixing your health and saving money overall in the long term. At least that's what I think with this so far.
Yeah. You don't want to be stuck in chronic pain dealing with hospitals and doctors because it's so expensive, even in Japan. You know, every time you get an MRI or something, it's they add up. You know, obviously it's not US prices, but
So also talking about work, my son is going to finish university fairly soon, and so he's going to be entering the workplace as well. So actually, he could buy, well, if I encourage him to get a loan, he could probably buy an English school in Sendai. 20-year-old, no experience. Think that would work? It's easy, isn't it? I mean, how hard could it be?
Sure. We'll do a good price for you. Yeah.
Okay. No. So he's going the proper
good price
route.
For you, sir. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it could be a challenge. No, he's going to the proper route and doing all the shukatsu. So he's bilingual. So he's going the Japanese way of
shukatsu being job search, not end of life planning. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Because that's the other shukatsu, the one that we normally talk about.
Yeah, he's doing the Japanese. Everybody finds their job at the same time at graduation time. And he has got I think it's a Tokyo big site, a big recruitment fair thing. There are 300 companies there. And so he needs a suit for that because this is Japan. You need a suit to get a job.
Yes.
So we went along
it has to be a certain color, doesn't it?
Yes, we went along to the suit shop. And they did ask, the assistant, we had a really nice assistant there. And he said, what color are you thinking of? Unfortunately, my son was thinking of black because turns out black is the color that you need for shukatsu. And then obviously a white shirt. I looked at some other shirts they got there, which were white with a slightly textured material. Very, very nice, like a herringbone or something. No, you don't want to have anything fancy like that, sir, because that might distract or, might be too showy-offy. So stick to the plain white shirt. Okay. What about ties? You need ties. Do you recommend any sort of ties? Oh, yes, sir. You want ideally a red base tie and a blue base tie.
Oh, you need both. You can't choose.
No, because they've got rolls. They've got rolls. The red base tie is for the interviewing, where you sort of show your energy and your spirit, and then the blue base tie is for when you have some kind of test work to do, like a test project or some kind of initiation ceremony or something, where you show your reliability. Okay, what about, this is a crazy suggestion, but what about if you wanted to, wear a different color tie or some different color material, no, we don't really do that for shukatsu. It's just not done because you don't want to stand out, because then people will think you're a bit weird, a bit unreliable. And he did actually say in a positive way that in your interview, you want to let the content of what you're saying make the big impression rather than what you're wearing, which is, it makes sense. So
I can see that.
He had good logic. It just surprised me that every tiny thing I thought of was, no, that's not within the norm of what we do at shukatsu time. So yeah, don't listen
obviously
to your dad.
You're not employable, Daniel.
No, not in Japan.
Although actually, you know, the last couple of years, you know, there's a complete lack of graduates demographically. So that something like 98 or 99% of graduates are finding jobs. So employers are really facing a seller's market when it comes to hiring people. So I don't know if they're as picky anymore.
Might not be.
In fact, they're having to accommodate the younger generation in ways that they haven't had to in the past, by changing working practices and making things kind of nicer. Because if they're not, then people just quit. They go and find another job.
Yes.
And nowadays you can do that. You can quit your first job and go and get a job in another company, and that's fine. Whereas before, that would have been career suicide.
Yeah.
But there's so few young people now that it's fine to do that. So.
Yeah. Yes, one of the things I noticed as well is that so previously everybody goes into the company and then the company says you're going to be in this department or that department. But one of the companies at this recruitment fair, he's actually had an online interview already for it, to be able to like book a slot to speak to a real person at the recruitment fair. You have an online interview first to sort of, you know, ensure you're not some, you know, time waster, I guess. But they have already said, you know, we're looking for somebody in the marketing department as opposed to, you know, just the company as a whole. So maybe that's another sign of the site change.
I think so. Yeah, because people don't like being told to do random things they don't want to do, right? It's like you join a company and they're like, "Oh, you're in accounting now." He's like, "I hate math. Why am I doing in accounting?"
In Tottori Prefecture or whatever.
Exactly. So that is not going to fly anymore, it seems. So, which is good. It's good for the workers. I don't know if it's good for the companies, but for the workers in terms of quality of life, definitely.
Oh, right. Yeah. I read an interesting thing though. It's a long time ago now in The Economist, and it was saying that maybe the way of like randomly assigning people is not so bad, not at a personal level, but from a company sort of results level. So the way it works in the sort of Western world is you sort of do what you do, you get promoted in that role until you get to a point where effectively you're not very good at it. You get promoted until you're past your peak ability, because if you're still good at it, you'll still get promoted. You won't get promoted when you're not quite so good anymore, which effectively means you're sort of pushing yourself you're pushing your limits too far. So consequently, you're not giving the company your best work. And it was saying if you sort of randomly assign people to different things, some people are not very going to be very good at that role, but some people are. And so overall, the company is likely to have a higher, better result from that random allocation, rather than everybody being promoted to the point where they're sort of not quite able to do what they're supposed to do.
And you're also building generalists who have a good understanding of the entire company if you're moving people around.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so once you become CEO, you've actually worked in lots of different departments, kind of thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being the marketing guy. I think there's probably
it does sound
minuses there.
Not ideal for the employees, but and work-life balance is probably going to be tougher. But actually, we're going off script a lot today. But talking about CEOs, the CEO of Koko Ichiban, I think it is, just changed last month, and it is a female, a lady, which is a little bit unusual in Japan. But you know, the CEO Jal, I think now is a
yeah, and she had to go and explain to Parliament why. She had to go to the Diet to answer questions about like the accident that happened before she was CEO.
Oh right,
really.
Poor thing. Yeah. Anyway, Koko Ichiban, the CEO is 21 or 22. Which just it's like something I saw it on Twitter or something or TikTok, and oh come on, this must be made up. But I go and look into it. No, it's true. She started when she was, I think, 15 or something, as you know, regular baito as a high school student. Really enjoyed it and has a natural flair for engaging with customers and being super positive, and just right from the start, oh, she's really good. And then within a couple of years, she was one of the top customer representatives in the country, and so became one of this like they have 11 or 12 like super customer agents or something, whatever they call them, the elite. And then I think she left for a little while to study, you know, just concentrate on exams and stuff. but then came back, and the previous CEO, effectively took her under his wing and said, you've got what it takes. Let's train you up, during my final year. And she took over in May. And yeah, I watched an interview with her. Wow, what an inspiration. So good. I mean, yeah, when I saw the headline, it's like, oh, come on, this is just like filling diversity numbers. But no, wow. Yeah, it makes me want to go and dine at Kokoichiban.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Really impressed. Yeah.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. It's like she got promoted from part-time to the CEO.
Yeah, in 5 years or something. So yeah, very inspiring, and yeah, I hope she does well there.
And it's good. It's good to see that, because then that becomes possible. It's kind of like running the 4-minute mile. No one could do it until someone did, and then everyone else could suddenly magically, because it was possible now.
Yes. Yeah. Snowball effect of inspiring other people to do the same.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I have to put that in the Monday read next week.
Oh yeah. It's a good positive story. And the interview I saw as well, she doesn't come across as being, arrogant and bossy. Sort of like, she looks like she's in charge despite her young age, but still, got her humility and like humanness. Yeah.
I've seen some more of these. Like I posted a YouTube video about this girl. I think she's a junior high school student who's got her own company, and like has people working for her. So she has this meeting, and all these like marketing guys in suits come in and like take notes and stuff. It was brilliant. Such a good video.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, this is on TV. It's inspiring. It's saying, look, even if you're a 15-year-old girl, you can still be, company president or whatever. So
yeah.
But much needed message maybe in Japan.
Oh, if I could go back again, the things I did different.
I'm quite happy to be where I am.
Really? Oh yeah. I suppose now I am. But when I think back to my son again, it's like, is it Derek Sivers? I think he did a article or something and saying there are no speed limit. There's no speed limit on life, and so you're kind of expected to do these things at a certain stage. But who's telling you have to? You don't. Just go faster. There's no speed limit. And so similarly, my son is like, following the route. And you don't have to. Start up now. Make all the mistakes you want right now. It's a great time. Part of me, when we were doing the suit trying on, I was really proud. Look at him all dressed up. Looks very nice. But part of me thinks, just go crazy and be wild and be different and make mistakes and do what you feel is right. But
I don't. Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can force people to do this. I mean, it's the same with my granddaughter, right? I'm like, yeah, let's make a YouTube video. Let's make a YouTube channel together. And we'll make money. You can have half the money, and this will teach you about marketing and business and all this stuff. And she's not into it because she's 12.
Yeah, fair.
She wants to like go to karaoke and read manga. So yeah. So it's that question. It's the question. Would you take $2 million now, or would you go back to being 20 with what you know? I'd take 20 in a second. Can you imagine? Like, it wouldn't be. Yeah. If I knew what I know now and then I could be 20 again, unbelievable. But you can't, and that's the point, isn't it?
I'd go back to 20 again, I think.
Yeah. Because you'd get $2 million in like 10 years, wouldn't you?
Yeah, just think. Yeah, the one thing I would do differently is just take more risks, I think.
Buy Apple stock.
Oh yeah, and then there's the obvious. Yes.
Even without that, though, just because like entrepreneurship is basically being able to do whatever you want, isn't it? Assuming you understand the basic principles of it.
Yeah, I think you're always going to be beholden to somebody, whether it's investors or customers or whatever. Anyway. Two old guys musing about the young people of today, but in a nice way. We're saying positive things. Simon Thomas in Facebook. Hi, Simon. He says this sounds like the young CEO sounds like a publicity stunt to get the young crowd in. Yeah, possibly, but then he goes on to say it's a nice way to bring attention to the company. Nevertheless, I think it is, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, see how she does, eh? Like,
yeah. Anyway, I think that's all the sort of discussion topics we had lined up.
Cool. All right, news.
Should we move on? Yeah.
There's a lot of news. Wow.
Oh, yeah. First of all, so the continuing problem, the demographic problem that we just mentioned, actually, with population shrinking, and the government is going to fix that, apparently, again. They've announced, I think this was a while ago now, but they've announced new child allowances in Japan to be expanded from October 2024, but I think new ones are sort of going to continually come in 2025 and 2026, I think. Let me put a link to the full article for people to read, but I can summarize it. There is currently an income cap on child allowance or childcare allowance. There we go, posting to the chat. That income cap is going to be removed for the child allowance. That's one of the things. That also, so currently it's only up to middle school students, as far as I'm aware, and that is going to be extended up to the parents of high school students. And then this third point I found interesting. Currently, the amount of money you receive as a parent of a child is 15,000 yen for the first 2 children you have up to the age of 2. And then when they hit age 3, up to high school age, once the law's changed, they'll get 10,000 yen, or the parents will get 10,000 yen per child. That is going to change for your third and subsequent children up to 30,000 yen per child. So basically, they're giving you 3 times more child allowance if you have a third and then a fourth and a fifth child. They're really pushing for that, have more than 2 children thing.
Yeah, makes sense. And my daughter's about to have her fourth, so she's going to be quidsing.
Money. Now is she doing it for the money? So this is, I think, I like this.
Not, but it's going to make it easier for them. I mean, it's basically, I don't think governments can affect birth rates.
Right. So I think this is a good thing.
If you look at all the countries that are amazingly good at, helping, supporting families, and, Sweden, Norway, France, all that.
Yeah.
None of them are at replacement rate.
Oh.
They're all falling populations. So if they can't do it, then I don't think all these little handouts and things are actually making a difference.
Yeah.
It's a social dynamic. It's not about money, although money helps. And I think in Japan's case, the working conditions are making it worse.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think any of these things are actually going to do anything. They're going to make it more pleasant for people who do have children, which I think is probably a good thing. But
yeah.
I don't think it's going to change the birth rate. Look at South Korea. South Korea is spending 10 times as much as Japan is, and their birth rate is 0.7. It's the worst in the world.
Yeah. Wow. That was 0.7.
Yeah.
0.7. Wow.
Goodbye. Goodbye, South Korea.
The one thing that makes me a little bit doubtful is that towards the end of this article from the Yomiuri Shimbun, apparently the money is not going to come from raising taxes, which is great. Where's the money going to come from then? It's going to come from, I'm quoting here, implementing thorough expenditure reforms, so there will be virtually no additional burden on the public. So thorough expenditure reforms. So that's reforms that could have done before, but weren't done, but they're going to do them now, and they're going to save so much money they can.
Or they also think this isn't going to do anything, so they're not going to have to pay out all that much extra money.
Yeah, possibly. Okay, we suddenly turned cynical after that positive bit.
Too much positivity.
Anyway.
No, I think it's great. I think anything that makes it easier for parents is good. So
yes, and there are additional things as well, including maternity expenses. I think it's increasing insurance coverage for maternity expenses or something like that. I don't know the full details, but they're putting in several things which they're hoping are going to.
I hope they fix that. The fact that insurance doesn't cover childbirth is absolutely ridiculous if you're trying to encourage childbirth. What is going on there?
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll fix that as well.
Yes. And as Simon says in the chat, every little bit helps. Yes, it does. Sorry, we shouldn't sort of deride it because it's all positive changes. The next news item we have is, we mentioned the Japan Real Estate Summit earlier. I went along to this in person a couple of years ago, and they've sort of gotten to the sort of routine of repeating it every spring and autumn, roughly. But they've just not long ago released the conference talks that they did at the most recent conference. So the summit itself is really good. It's not expensive to attend. I think it's 2,000 yen, something like that. If you're anywhere near Tokyo at the time, I highly recommend it. But if you can't make it, they also put the talks up on their YouTube channel, which I've just put the link to. So really, really good educational content there if you're interested in buying a property, renting a property, renting out a property, or you want to get one of these amazing free akiyas for no money in the beautiful part of the country and suddenly live the ideal life in Japan, like they say on YouTube.
Yeah, really, really fantastic content. I've watched a few, even though I'm not gonna do Airbnb or whatever or buy an Akiya. Like I've watched a few, and they're really interesting. Are really solid, and it might be the start of. You could probably reach out and ask questions if you want to as well.
Yeah, very approachable. Yeah. Right, going back to government news. This is something you told me about. Actually, I'd missed it. Kishida-san, the current Prime Minister, has announced 40,000 yen tax cut, which is taking effect this month.
Yay! More free money for everyone from the magic money tree. So this has gone down really badly with the public.
Why?
Opinion
It's free
polls.
money.
It's just seen as a cynical, stupid policy that's not actually really helping. So I mean, basically everyone's getting this. It's 40,000 yen per family member, as long as you're making under 20 million, I think, per year. So you get a tax break. But it's, I mean, obviously the LDP is like incredibly unpopular and heading towards an election. So, I wonder where this came from. It's supposed to offset the cost of living raises. So the everything's getting more expensive. So this is supposed to help with that. There's a feeling that it's not particularly useful in terms of a policy. It's just kind of like the COVID handouts, like, hey, here's some money.
Oh, yeah. It looks like it's in two parts from what I can see. So you've got the 40,000 yen tax break for each dependent family member of the household. But then if you are if you're a low-income household, then you get 70,000 yen, not tax break, but just cash benefit. So that's kind of like the free money like COVID times, but just for sort of low-income households, as I understand.
Oh, okay, so the tax break wouldn't help you because you're not paying taxes anyway. But then you'd only get, was that per person or per household?
Per household. Well, my understanding of it was per household.
So that means that people who are really struggling get less money.
Possibly, you'll have to take that up with Kishida-san, not me.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that annoys me. Like give all the money to people that need it. Like. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if as long as you're making under 20 million, you'll pay 40,000 yen less per dependent family member at the end of the year.
Yes.
Although it's going to be done through employers apparently, so it'll just be a slight reduction in your taxes every month, I guess, for the rest of this year.
All right. Yeah.
And then they're talking about making it permanent or something. So.
Oh, are they? Oh.
Well, the LDP are talking about making it permanent if they get re-elected or something.
If you vote for us, we'll make it permanent. Let's see what they're doing there. Right, next one. You put electricity prices on the news list. Why is this a news item?
Yeah, so my understanding is that our electricity prices are currently being subsidized by the government, but that's going to end soon. So they'll go up to market rates, which would probably be a bit more expensive than they are now.
Right. A bit more? We don't know how much.
I can't remember how much it was. Like it was there was a set subsidy, isn't there? So I guess once that ends, then that's how much more it'll be. So let me have a quick look.
Okay. Whilst he's researching that, everybody just have a little think about how many. Here's a quiz for you. How many electricity bills do you think Ben gets? How many electricity or contracts, I suppose, has been? I'm in a regular house here, and I've got one. Ben's not quite like the rest of us, and so it includes his wife's school, which he works at. So including that, he has more than one electricity bill that comes along. So in the time it takes to look this up, have a think about how many answers in the comments if you feel like it. How many electricity bills does Ben get? And then we can feel sorry for him when they go up.
Yeah, I just checked. Apparently, the subsidy ends this month. So from July, prices will go up again.
Yeah. And so
for,
the
I think,
increased
electricity and gas.
How many increased electricity bills will you have then?
Well, I have one at home, like normal people. And my wife's school, we actually rent a number of units in the building. And most of them are commercial units. So they actually have 2 electricity lines. One is a normal one, and one is this like high power thing for the ceiling air cons and stuff. So we have, including those, I've got 9. And the high power ones are really expensive. Like the base price is about 20,000 yen. So
right, it's not just 9 bills, but 9 base prices as well as the usage on top of that.
So that would probably be quite painful.
There you go. When your electricity bill arrives, folks, think about Ben with his 9. Sorry, I'm not laughing at all. Oh dear. By the way, we've had a few questions whilst we've been chatting. Thank you very much for those.
Ooh.
We do have a question and answer section just a bit later on once we get through the news and stuff. So we will be getting to your questions shortly.
Excellent. Right.
Right, we have another item on the news list that I think you feel strongly about. It's revoking PR. PR being
so the Diet approved this new law. I think it needs to go through one more time. So yeah, if you break the law or don't pay your taxes or don't pay pension, don't pay health insurance, or don't carry your Zaidu card when you're outside the home, then you can have your PR revoked by the immigration office, I believe, which makes me uneasy because I don't really trust them. They're not very transparent.
But you break the law, you're a criminal, you deserve to go home, don't you?
Yeah, but I'd rather that were a law that was enforced by the courts than, the immigration office making a decision and then not explaining why they made the decision. So, I mean, it's not going to affect me, but I think it could end up being a bit unfair, and it's a bit unnecessary. There's been no actual data provided as to why this is necessary, or so.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit, and also the timing is a little bit iffy because they're trying to expand PR, so they're trying to bring in more people, right, by getting rid of this technical trainee thing and opening up more visa categories. And this is like a little sop to the people that don't like that, to say, hey, we can get rid of them too. So we're bringing in more people, but we can get rid of them later if we need to. So
right.
I'm not a fan. But I don't think, it's going to go through, isn't it? So
yeah, I was playing devil's advocate earlier. I'm not either, and I think, as you mentioned, that it's fine if you break the law. There's some kind of punishment, but in this case, there's an extra punishment if you're a foreigner that doesn't apply if you're Japanese, because you can't lose permanent residency if you're Japanese. So maybe it would be fairer if there was some other punishment that equally applies to anybody who evades tax or whatever, regardless. Regardless of whether you have a Japanese passport or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, pretty sure that will complete its journey through the rulemaking process.
Slightly happier.
Oh yes. This the last item on the news is something. So the first change to marriage law or some custody rights. The first change to custody rights in nearly 80 years will take effect by 2026. And that is that divorced parents will be allowed to choose either dual or single custody for the children. So currently, if you get divorced, only one parent gets custody of the child, but now joint custody is what it will be allowed, which I think is excellent news.
For most people, there's been some people who are opposed to this law because they think it's going to help abusive partners keep control of things in a way that they couldn't at the moment. But I think that is a bit marginal and is not. It's not something that's definitely going to happen, as opposed to there's a lot of children who would benefit from having access to both of their parents, but they don't have now. So
there's another part of this law which I didn't realize until I saw the article, that apparently, so this revision to the law also requires the sharing of child rearing costs by the parent who is not the main custodian. So as currently happens, the parent that has the child custody, which is most of the time the mother in Japan, they're often, or sometimes they're part-time workers or they have low income. They do not receive full financial or any financial support from their former husbands. I don't think it's legally.
It is. It is. It's just not enforced as well as it could be. But yeah, you go to court and you get child support.
Oh, okay. So maybe it's just.
I don't think this is new. I think that was also the case before.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I'm probably wrong about that.
Now, a lot of people didn't do that or did it, and then the other spouse pretended they didn't have any money or refused to pay or whatever. So, and the amounts are not particularly generous. So,
all right.
I don't know if this is going to change any of those factors.
Yeah. Okay. Or maybe it was an assumption that because it was only single custody up to now, then automatically, okay, you have custody, that means you pay. But whereas now joint custody is a thing, then joint responsibility, even if you haven't got custody, is more sort of in people's is more of a thing.
It might mean that they have to pay more. The non-custodial parents possibly, but hopefully it seems like a good thing for assuming that the courts are sensible and can differentiate between normal parents and abusive parents, which I'm guessing they can. Like,
you would hope so. This comes following a few high-profile cases where one parent has taken custody of the children kind of forcefully and become out of contact, so the other parent has lost contact with their children.
Yeah, so it seemed like whoever grabbed the kids and ran away tended to get custody because the courts would give custody to the person who was living with the children.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously that led to lots of very kind of upsetting stories.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, but that is, a net positive, I think, overall. Hopefully, yeah. Right, that is the end of the news topics that we have.
And now we have the moment everyone's been waiting for, which is Daniel's money tip.
And I keep forgetting to make up some kind of chime thing. Here we go. I've got there we go. The cheapest ever jingle.
Are you ready?
Now, I've got a special extra bonus tip from my son here, who's not here to sort of back it up, but he did say to me today, so I've got a money tip for you. Yes, what is it? Say you want to go on a trip, okay? But if you've got a flight and you're going to be away for a week or maybe even more, it's expensive to leave your car at the airport car park. However, he's got this workaround. If you've got a nice car, it probably only works if you've got some expensive car, right? You go to the bank and you take out a big loan and they'll ask you for some collateral. And so you leave them your expensive car as collateral. And then when you come back off the holiday, you pay off the loan, get your car back, boom, you've had almost free airport parking. Almost free because you probably had to pay a week's worth of interest on the loan. How about that for genius?
Did he come up with this all by himself?
I'm afraid he might have done, yeah.
Has he ever taken out a loan in Japan?
No, don't tell the recruiters.
Because generally you have to pay fees and things to take out loans.
Oh, you mean what?
Although when we went to the airport the other day, you can park at the airport. It costs about 1,000 yen a day.
Well, that's not bad.
But very close to the airport, there are car parks where you pay much less, like 500 yen a day. and then they'll drive you to the airport and back.
Oh, a little shuttle bus kind of thing.
Yeah. So you pay about half as much. It's a bit less convenient. But recently, for the first time, we saw unmanned distant car parks that don't drive you to the airport. You have to walk to the airport, but they're only like 100 yen a day.
How far is it to walk?
About 15 minutes.
Oh, okay, quite far out. But if you've got a suitcase and stuff, a bit awkward. But if you really want to save,
get a taxi. Get a taxi for like 600 yen.
Oh, I see.
And you'd save enough if you were there for like 2 weeks or something.
But why go to all that hassle when you can just go to the bank and take out a big loan?
Yeah, exactly. Drat.
So yeah, thank you, Blaze01 on YouTube, for sticking up for me. Don't burst his bubble with reality. Let him enjoy. And so if you try this super money-saving tip from my son, then please let us know how it
went. Yeah. How'd you get from the bank to the airport anyway?
You're bringing reality into it again. Come on. Right, where was I? Oh yeah, so I do have a real money.
You're probably better off trying to get the airport police to impound it or something, and then when you get back, you get it back, you know?
I mentioned that too. He probably would try it.
Leave like a fake bomb inside and have them seize the vehicle, and then...
Oh, okay. You didn't hear that from us, folks. Right, so I have a even better money tip. This is from me here.
Really?
I recently,
better than that?
Yes, even better. I recently came across this site. Well, I suppose it's a few months ago now, called Rentio, RENTIO.jp. And I've rented camera and lenses in the past, considering buying them from a sort of camera specialist place. I mean, it worked out really well. And in Japan, you know when it's sent to you, it's going to be well packaged, it's going to be good condition. So that all went well. Rentio does a similar thing, but for pretty much any home appliance you can think of, at least from what I've seen. They basically own a bunch of appliances. You don't have to subscribe. You just rent it when you want to, either on a one-time, like one-off basis, or on an ongoing monthly basis. And if it's the one-time basis, then they tell you what time limit you've got. For a camera that I rented, that was just 4 days, I think. And then we're currently renting an air cleaner, which they give you 15 days for that. Or you can just do the ongoing subscription kind of thing if you want to. So I like that sort of freedom that it gives you. But where is this money-saving tip then? Well, the first part of it is, I've forgotten now. Oh, yes. When you've finished, if you get the one-time payment thing, the one-time thing, like the 14 days, or let's get my words out. Use the example of the camera that I bought. It's the Canon G5X. Just grabbing it here. If you're listening to the audio version, I apologize, but I've got little.
Ooh, very fancy.
Yeah. There we go, ready to go. And it was 5,000 yen.
Looks like one of those influencer cameras.
Oh, could be. I could be an influencer. Anyway, it was 5,000 yen to rent for 4 days. And some people might think that's a lot, but for me, I was really sort of, to actually buy it on Amazon, I think it was 120,000 yen. And I'd really like to make sure I really do like it before I splash out that kind of money. So anyway, I bit the bullet, rented it for 5,000. And then, almost by accident, I realized that they do this sonomama konyu option. So kind of buy it now option. So whilst you're renting it, during that time, if you decide you really like it, you can complete this simple form, type in your credit card details, and buy it. And they'll send you an email, saying, thanks, you don't need to send it back, it's yours now. So where does the money saving tip come in? Well, some things end up more expensive if you buy it directly from them. But in the case of this camera, it's quite a sort of relatively hard to get. It was 120,000 yen on Amazon, but the buy it now price to Rentio was 100,000. So the overall cost was 15,000 yen cheaper. Plus, I got to actually try it out to see if I like it first before I, put down the.
And that Amazon price is for a used one, right?
It was, yes. I don't know if they still make them new. I can't remember now, but yeah, very good camera in demand, by the way. Canon G5X if you want good camera. So yeah, I found there are some other things as well. I haven't found that big a discount, but there are some other things on there which end up being cheaper. The total rental price plus the buy it now price, and some of them are more expensive. The air cleaner that we got right now, if I bought it from them, it would be a total of nearly 20,000 yen, whereas I can get a brand new one for 13,000 yen on Amazon. So I'm going to send that back. By the way, the 5,000 yen or whatever price for the one-off rental does include postage. They post it to you, and then you post it back, and all of that postage is paid for by them. So it's all included. And
I guess if you need a chainsaw or something for like a week, then awesome.
Yeah. I've seen several. Oh yeah, the other good thing about this site is they have reviews on there, and you can only write a review if you actually rent the thing. And so they're very sort of neutral, unbiased reviews, which I like. And lots of people right now are renting dehumidifiers because it's coming to the rainy season. So yeah, they're very popular, and people rent it for a month or two, and perfect. So the second part of this money saving is you might say, well, it's not brand new. You're getting it, and although they check everything before they send it out to you, it's not brand new. What if it goes wrong or something? Well, when you do the buy it now thing, they give you a year's guarantee, the same as you would if you got a brand new product. So sometimes you can get it cheaper through Rentio, and you get a year's guarantee from them. If that's not a good money saving tip, I don't know what is.
Nice.
Drop the mic.
I'm convinced. I'm convinced.
But yeah, I don't have any association with the company, but I've used them several times now, and it's worked very well each time.
Cool. Yeah, they've got bikes as well. Wow. I'm just looking at it now. I'm enthralled. Wow.
Yeah, the variety is incredible. If you sign up for their mailing list, I think they sent you coupons or something. But yeah,
power. So if you know that there's going to be a natural disaster, you can rent some power bricks off them.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that's my money saving tip. What else do we have next on our agenda then? We're going down to, it's forum updates then.
Forum updates. There's not many actually, because there's loads. There seem to be themes on the forum at the moment. So there's a whole bunch of threads on buying homes, whether it's buying homes secondhand or buying homes from abroad or buying homes as a second home, like a Besso kind of thing. So lots of interesting stuff in there. There's a few British threads. So the main ones are basically about Class 2 pension contributions getting scrapped by the government. This is an ongoing, eternal thread. It's been going on for years.
Year, isn't it? No. The latest deadline is next year, isn't it?
That's to back pay. So until the end of March, you can back pay more than usual, but they're going to scrap Class 2 contributions entirely at some point, maybe. So, and the other thing is the election. So if you want to vote in the UK elections, and we got our votes back. So we used to not have the vote after 15 years abroad, but now we got it back. But you still need to ask for a postal ballot. So even if you've registered to vote, you need to go to gov.uk and ask them to send you a ballot. And it takes about 2 minutes. I did that the other day.
Yeah, I did. I'm just getting the form. I think it was this page.
And then we've had multiple threads on NISA. NISA is very popular at the moment. And also about children's accounts. So how to invest for children, whether that's a good idea, that kind of stuff. So check out the forum. There's lots of stuff on there.
Yeah, because they got rid of the junior NISA, didn't they?
Exactly. So
yeah. What if there's not enough information about NISA on the forum, and I wanted to get more in-depth information about NISA?
Well, you could pre-order the guide to NISA 2024, which is coming out on June 30th.
Oh,
lots of people have been doing that.
Aha, sounds good.
And it's half price if you pre-order. And you get all future editions for free, because that's how we roll on Retire Japan.
Wow. I think 2024. Okay, I've got a link here, the 2024 edition. Is that the right one? The Gumroad link?
Yeah, should be.
Yeah. Okay, put a link there.
But it's a pre-order. You won't get it till June 30th. I've had like 24 people email me saying, I can't see my guide. I'm like, it comes out on June 30th.
June 30th. Okay. Good question from a Spider, Greg. Will you be autographing these ebooks?
I could, I guess. I could put I don't know. Why do you want my signature? Sounds like a scam.
Yes, sorry, these are not print editions. It's just digital copies, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, for now.
Yeah. Sorry, Spider.
Yeah, no autographs. My signature is secret. Only the UK government has it now because I had to give it to them for the postal ballot.
Really? You have to give your signature?
Have you actually signed up to get a postal ballot, or just registered to vote?
Oh, maybe I just registered.
Because it's not the same.
What? So
yeah, a lot of people have missed this. So if you want to vote in the next UK election, which is on July 4th, I think, is it?
Yeah.
You actually need to ask for a postal ballot through the Gov UK site, and even if you've already registered to vote.
Oh.
So go and do that. It takes 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because your vote matters. This election matters.
Okay. So the link I put. Sorry, this is just really for UK citizens. But the link I put goes to the register to vote page, and so maybe it's in there. It looks like there's a section there for if you live abroad. So there's a few links from that.
I'll put the link in. I've just found it.
Okay. Oh, really?
The
great.
Apply for a postal vote link.
Oh, I think I missed that one then. Got the wrong one.
Everyone did. I didn't realize we had to do this either, but because I already applied to register to vote, and I thought that was the end of it. But no, you need to do this as well.
Okay, well.
And you need to do it quite soon because the postal votes take a while to go back and forth.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Right. That's all the forum stuff then, retirejapan.com/forum. And so the final section.
We've run out of content, haven't we?
Oh, we've got some more thanks to our very kind commenters.
We've got some questions to ask, haven't we? So
right. One thing I want to mention right earlier on is not a question as such. It's more of a comment from Rob McLaughlin on Facebook. I think he's talking about you, not me. You changed your hair. Looks pretty cool for the first time.
Burn. Was that a burn? I don't think he was talking about me. I think he's talking about you.
Oh, no way. And then he's got a follow-up comment. So the comment which says, I'm just envious since I've got none. All right. We'll lay off.
Cool. Right. Let's go through these questions super quick.
Right.
So I don't think this is difficult, but
should we read it out for people on the podcast?
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
I'll be the commenter. So you've probably been asked a few times, but how difficult is using an American retirement account while in Japan?
It's not difficult, but Japan doesn't recognize these as tax exempt. So you'd have to presumably calculate your Japanese taxes that you owe on this and then pay those. So it's a little bit of a hassle. But unfortunately, Americans can't really use investment accounts in Japan because of US tax laws. So this is about as good as it gets. So you wouldn't, obviously with an American retirement account, you're probably not paying American taxes, but you would be paying Japanese taxes. I'm not a US CPA or anything. So it might be good to get specialist professional advice for that. What else? We did the house cleaner one. So
yes.
House cleaners are only tax deductible if you can employ them. Oh, nice.
Yeah. Jason on the YouTube. Hope it is okay if I hop in and ask a question. Of course it is, Jason. What is the difference between a defined benefit and defined contribution? Joining a new company and they offer both, but can't seem to find any info. So defined benefit and defined contribution. Pension, I guess, is referring to?
Yeah, these are pension schemes. So defined benefit schemes are basically the company pays in and they kind of guarantee what you get at the end, which is why these schemes are much less popular now because they're potentially expensive for the company.
Well, much less popular with the companies, not with the employees, I think.
Yes, I mean, they're much less common. So basically, most companies have scrapped them. Because basically the company has to guarantee the output. Whereas a defined contribution scheme is you're putting money in and generally you can decide what happens with the money. So you can decide how to invest it within the account. But that's all. So you're paying money in and then the results are based on the market. So the company's not guaranteeing the results. And so this is much safer for companies. So most companies now do defined contribution schemes. If you're trying to choose between them, it's probably worth looking at how much the company's going to contribute to either of these. Are they going to match your contributions? Are they going to pay in on your behalf and that kind of thing? And then see what your tax break is going to be, because both of them can give you an income tax reduction, right? By paying in pre-tax income. So generally defined benefit schemes have been better. So if you have the choice of getting one, it might be worth taking a good look at it, see if it's any good. But yeah, those are the main differences. So defined benefit is the company is guaranteeing the result, and defined contribution is they're not guaranteeing the result. You get the market result. So
it sounds like neither of them are really, or like with life insurance, neither of them are really, oh, you should avoid that because it's just a real rip-off. They're both sort of valid, but one is slightly better if you can get it, but the other one is still okay.
Yeah. So they both could be good. So it depends on the terms and conditions, and what provider can you access through this, what are the fees like for that provider's platform, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I have not a question but a comment going back to when we were talking about the best saw. And Dosanko Debbie, thank you, good username, says buying a rural best saw, a rural second home, is a good choice for someone with physical disabilities. I bought a small house originally built for just such a person. I can now get out of the city for R&R, rest and recreation, without worries.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. So if you need a good kind of option to go off and have a break, that sounds good.
Yeah, really good. All right, what else do we have? Oh, this one. Would anyone know? Oh, sorry, this is from Naski HK07 on YouTube. Would anyone know whether there is a group in Tokyo for foreign retirees to allow them to get together, connect, exchange info, etc., in person rather than online? So a physical meetup group in Tokyo for foreign retirees. I don't really know myself.
There were some people on the forum that were meeting up at least once in that way as a group for kind of retired people. So that might be worth looking for that thread. I'm guessing for somewhere like Tokyo, it's so big that you're probably better off looking for interest groups rather than kind of generic foreign retiree groups. So if you find something related to an interest, you're going to meet people with similar interests. So that's probably going to give you a better chance, I think. What was that? There's a meetup website, isn't there? Like meetup.com?
There used to be, well, there still is meetup.com. The last time I looked, they've got quite a few things in Japan, but several of them seem to be no longer active. I think because they started charging, used to be free, and then they started charging, and so a lot of groups dropped off and went over to Facebook or whatever. So yeah, I don't know if that's really useful anymore.
Yeah, I'd probably look for board games or gardening or walking or whatever you enjoy doing, and going for that. Unless it's something really specific for, like, you want to talk about pensions or something. I don't know many people that do that in real life, though.
There is a guy I used to follow on Twitter who does photo walks. I can't remember. Alfie something.
Alfie Goodrick, yeah.
That's it, yes. And every now and then he does photo walks. I think in Tokyo, the one I was due to attend was in Yokohama. And so not necessarily retirees, but yeah, people with a similar interest going along doing some kind of activity which leads to sort of a social engagement. So yeah, something along those lines, I think, sounds good.
Yep. And someday we might have RetireJapan live events again. So
yeah, that's really good. I don't know if I've mentioned the group that I'm kind of part of unofficially here in this part of Japan. So I live in Shonan, which includes Kamakura, Enoshima, Chigasaki, those kind of places, just sort of south of Yokohama towards the sea in the Kanagawa prefecture. Several years ago, I was queuing up at a very nice pancake place, actually, in Kanagawa. And this other white Western male like me came up and said, "Hey, do you live here?" I was like, "Yes, I do." "Okay, well, you should be in our society Here's my what's my email address or something. I can't remember. This time I was a bit more reluctant. Like, well, I'm not really sure. I thought it was some cult thing I was signing up to, and I'm so glad I did. It turns out the guy who is just loosely organized this. It's basically a mailing list of. It's called the Gaijin Fathers of Shonan, and there are people in it who don't live in Shonan.
Oddly specific.
Right, GFS. There are people in it who don't live in Shonan. There are people who live in it who are not Gaikokujin, and there are people who are in it who are not fathers. So the name is kind of irrelevant. And it's just a casual mailing list, and sometimes it's very empty and nothing happens. And then sometimes some people say, oh, let's go on a hike next weekend. And sometimes somebody will say, oh, I'm selling this bike. Is anyone interested? I'm looking for a doctor. And it's really nice. So if there isn't something like that in Tokyo or wherever, it only requires access to start up a mailing list and
that sounds really cool. Actually, I
like
wouldn't mind making something like that for Sendai. Yeah,
it was really good. As I say, that was brave enough to come up to random people in the street who looked like they weren't tourists, or they lived here, and yeah, I'm glad I met him.
Cool. There's also Facebook groups like that, I think, so for most areas. So
yeah,
if you had a look. Yeah. Definitely.
Right, so that was a long answer. Yeah. Is this a regular hangout? Ben?
Kind of. We do it once a month. So once a month we do RetireJapan TV. Normally it's on the last Monday of the month, but it does vary from time to time. Obviously today is not the last Monday of the month. This is actually the May RetireJapan TV.
Yes.
You might have been confused because it's June, but yeah. The next one is on June 24th, I think.
I won't be around then. So
it might not be on June 24th.
Right.
We might have to reschedule that.
Yeah, sorry, going back to the UK that week.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to Miyakojima the next day, so it might be good to reschedule, maybe. So we'll talk about that later.
The June one will probably be in July.
But yeah, it's regular in that we do 10 a year of these. So once every month, and then we have a little break after the season. So this is episode 7. There's 3 more episodes, and then we'll wrap up for this season.
Yeah. Cool. Subscribe if you want to be alerted for the next one.
Yeah. We announce it everywhere. So if you're on YouTube, you probably saw it pop up, and it's in the Monday read normally. We'll stick it on Twitter and so on.
Yeah. Right. Next question from Spider Greg again. Hello. So he's worried, or they are worried. The Maxim All Country Fund, which I think we like, they say it keeps dropping. I am having a heart attack. End of question.
Yeah. So I haven't.
What should we do?
I haven't seen the price recently. I'm not too bothered. Yeah, I mean, obviously the stock market goes up and down. Over time. It goes up more than it goes down. In the short term, it's volatile, so prices will go up and down. It doesn't matter. Unless you sell your investments, you haven't made or lost money. So just ignore the price. Don't look at it, If you need the money within a year or two, you probably shouldn't be invested in that particular fund because it's very volatile. So, but as long as you don't need the money for 10, 20 years, really don't worry about it. Just keep putting money into it and don't look at the price because it's not healthy. So, it's kind of like checking the scales every 3 hours. It wouldn't really help you.
Well, and also if you're checking the scales, it's something you can do something about. Whereas with this, you can't really control the price of the fund. I like to. The way I think of it is like, am I buying, selling, or neither? If I'm doing neither, then it doesn't matter. If I'm buying, then a lower price is good. Anything buying at a cheap price is good. If I'm selling, not so good. Can I wait a bit longer for it to go up? But generally, if I ask myself that, I'm not selling because I have no reason to sell. So if you're not selling, don't worry about it.
That's a really good point. Yeah, if the price is going down and you're buying it every month, that's great. That's
as long as you believe one day it will go up again.
Everything's on sale.
Horizon.
Or is it?
Yes.
I mean, I haven't checked it recently.
I don't think so. I mean, it's going down, but I don't think there's been any kind of massive drop. In other words, we're not worried.
We haven't noticed.
Good. I think that's about all the questions we have.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's. Yeah, seems fine. The yen hasn't strengthened and the stock market hasn't dropped, so seems fine. I do think at some point the yen is going to strengthen and the stock market is going to drop, probably at the same time, and that's going to look horrible. So just be ready for that. You know, one day you're going to wake up and you know, it's going to be down 40%, 50%. And that doesn't matter either because it'll recover. But it will happen and you don't want to panic when that happens. You don't want to wake up and be, oh my God, half my money's gone. I've got to sell this now. Because that's when you lock in your losses and you mess up your financial future. So.
Yes, I remember March 2020, I think it was. So the pandemic was kind of weird, wasn't it? Initially, things just kept going up. It's a pandemic, but things keep going up. It's like, okay, it's not going to be that bad then. And then suddenly, somehow, realization kicked in or something, which triggered a big sell-off. And I remember that panic then. Oh my goodness me, it's dropped so much, like 20 or 30% or whatever. And then you look back at the chart now. Wow, I wish I'd bought then. What an opportunity that was when it dropped so much and we were all panicking. That was, if you kept your head whilst all else around you were
I
losing
wanted
theirs,
to. I was so gutted. I've been waiting for a price drop for years and we had money. And it dropped and I was like, but my wife's school needed those money reserves because we had to close it. So we had no income. We had rent to pay. So I was like, we don't know how long it's going to go on. We need this cash. So I was like, the chance came. I had the cash. I couldn't use it because I needed the cash for something else. So. Yeah. And I should have realized that, if something bad happens to the stock market, something bad is probably going to happen to the economy at the same time. So,
yeah. In the meantime, we actually had a few more extra comments.
Hey, more questions.
Jones R227 on YouTube has said they did a search on Meetup, meetup.com. Thanks very much. There is one called Tokyo Expats monthly meetup in Shinjuku. Next meeting on June 21st. Cool. Thanks very much for researching that. It's very kind.
Nice.
Salary Cat on YouTube says maybe not as specific as for retirees, but yeah, there might be some of them too. Still talking about the meetup, but they also have a question. Oh, here we go. Let's put this up. Do you invest in Japanese companies, or is it just the same to invest in US companies? All the same with NISA and iDeCo.
Personally, I only buy index funds now, so I buy world mutual funds. My wife has some individual Japanese companies. In NISA, you can buy individual Japanese companies. You can buy individual US companies. You can buy ETFs. You can buy mutual funds. In iDeCo, you can only buy mutual funds. So you can pretty much do anything. But for most people, I don't recommend buying individual companies unless you enjoy it. You're probably better off buying, an index fund by the world or by, the American stock market. And just buy that because you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think about it. You just have to buy it every month and you'll probably get better results.
Yeah. I'm a little bit on the other side. I invest mostly in Japanese companies because I love doing the research and I love getting the dividends through. I get a rush when I get the dividends and I enjoy
it is nice to get that email saying you got 7,000 yen.
Yes. Yes. Ooh. And the Kabunushi Yutai, the stockholder benefits that some companies give out, not all of them. It might be a sort of a Kuo card, like a sort of it's like a sort of book voucher kind of thing that you can use in combinis and stuff like that. Or it might be a box of fruit or something. I always enjoy that. But recently I've started getting mutual funds more and more because it is a sensible thing to do. But I still like the individual companies as well. So if you want to do the individual companies, maybe hedge. I don't want to give advice here, but I have decided to hedge the risk a little bit by getting mutual funds as well.
It seems like with the stock market as a whole, most of the returns come from a small number of companies. So if you buy the index, you're definitely going to own those companies. You'll get the average return. If you don't buy, if you're picking companies and you pick one of those companies, you're going to do well. But if you don't pick them, and it's impossible to know what they are beforehand, you're going to underperform and you're going to spend a lot of time underperforming. So
yeah,
that's something to think about.
They also follow up and saying the US market, or in Salary Cat's opinion, the US market grows consistently and usually outgrows other countries. Yeah, but then in the future it might not continue to do so. So they were wondering about the Japanese stock market. My personal approach is to look for Japanese companies that get a large chunk of their revenue, if not all of it, from outside of Japan, because the Japanese demographic situation does worry me.
That makes sense. So yeah, I mean, the US has outperformed for the last decade or so, but before that it underperformed as well. So it depends. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, part of me thinks no way that can continue, but then I've thought that for many years and it does. So I don't know what's going to happen. Right. Are you ready then for the final question, Ben? This is it, folks. We're going to have to wrap up after this. Jones R227 wants to know: do you invest in crypto?
No, I don't think buying crypto is investing. It is very much speculating. I do have some. I've got some big. No, I don't have some Bitcoin. I have a fraction of some Bitcoin, but it's a very, very small part of my portfolio. It's grown quite a lot. So it's now about 2% of my portfolio, but it's not something I'd put a lot of money into. It's not something I'd recommend. I don't understand why it would have intrinsic value, but if you want to play with crypto, I would do it with a small amount of your money, and put most of your money into, index funds if possible.
Yeah, I used to actively trade cryptocurrency, not as a day trader, but I would shift stuff around until I realized that you had to then file your taxes at the end of the year and basically record every transaction, which at one point for me was a lot. And then, I don't mean a lot as in I made loads of money, but I made a lot of transactions, buying and selling and earning and losing. And then the tax rate as well is really high on it. It's counted as miscellaneous tax, which is the highest sort of category of taxation that they give you for income.
It adds it to your income, yeah. So
yeah, and you can't offset it with losses in another area. So yeah, it's just I still have some, and I just refuse to touch it because I'm sure it's not worth my time, and it's not worth all that tax hassle and stuff. So yeah, just leave it there, and maybe one day it'll skyrocket. But gone back to the stock market.
And maybe they'll change the tax rules about it in Japan. But currently, if you buy and sell crypto, you need to record the transactions, and that includes if you swap it for different cryptocurrencies.
Right.
So it's not just buying and selling it for cash. It's changing Bitcoin into Ethereum into whatever, and then you add it to your income, and it gets taxed at your marginal income tax rate, which could be quite high. So for those reasons, it's not fantastically attractive in Japan. And also it's unreliable, and I mean, DMM this week lost how much?
$300 million worth, I think it was.
300. They had it stolen from their common wallets. So I guess anyone who had Bitcoin through DMM, they say they're going to reimburse everyone, but that would be the lucky outcome, I guess. The unlucky outcome would be like, sorry, your stuff's gone.
Yeah. Now, I think some of the exchange regulations are stricter in Japan than most companies, most countries. I think the chance of reimbursement is very high in Japan compared to some countries, from what I understand. So that's a good side of it. But yeah, the overall risk is something that I'm not really comfortable with anymore. There's so many scam artists now as well. Every thread on Twitter, even if it's not to do with crypto, it now gets some crypto person popping up and saying, hey, I made 10x in one day, follow me, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to we'll leave you on a negative note there, but
just play with a couple of percent and then put all the rest of your money into something sensible. All right.
Yes, yep.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah. So somebody has just bought the NISA book, so let's finish on a positive. They've ordered it the other day. I haven't read it yet, but looking forward to getting into it. Yes. Check out the NISA book for a slightly less risky way to invest than in crypto.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, cool. We've had quite a fantastic audience tonight. Thanks for all the questions and comments. Really, really fun to hang out with you guys. And we'll be back at an indeterminate date quite soon.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Good night. Have a good evening.
Bye.